F1 the movie is the newest film from Joseph Kosinski, who also directed Top Gun Maverick. It features a cast starring Brad Pitt, Damson Idris, Kerry Condon, and Javier Bardem. And today we're going to talk about what I believe is one of the definitive blockbusters of the summer. Welcome back into another video. I hope you all are having a fantastic day. If you love movie reviews, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are reviewing all of the latest blockbusters, and when we get into Oscar season, all of the latest Oscar films as well. Don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button for the latest around the world of movies. So I'm just going to preface it by saying this. I am a novice when it comes to the sport of F1. You know, being a sports fan as it is, some nights, some Saturday nights you turn on ESPN, you fall asleep, you wake up the next morning and the F1 race is on sports on ESPN. So I know some of the names, I know some of the, I've seen some of the races, but in terms of the overarching meat and potatoes of F1, I didn't really know anything. I was going into this relatively blind, but the fact that it is Joseph Kosinski, the fact that it is the same kind of gimmick, I might say, of the actors actually doing the stunts, Brad Pitt actually driving in the car, I was invested and in from the start because we saw what they did with Top Gun Maverick. That was a feat of cinematic really engineering, the camera rigs and having to make all of that happen. I was incredibly interested to see how they executed with an F1 car filming these F1 sequences. I was very interested. The trailers had me hooked from the start. I knew that this film was going to be one of the definitive blockbusters of the summer, and I'm very happy to report that it sure is, and I really enjoyed it. At the end of the day, I rated Top Gun F1. I rated F1 the movie an 87 out of 100. I don't think it's perfect. I do have some issues with it. If we were comparing the two movies, I would rate Top Gun higher, but this is still a really awesome film that new and old F1 fans, I think, will get something out of and enjoy, in some way, shapes, or forms. Let's start with just the technical. I think the technical is the reason why you go to this movie. This is a movie theater movie. This is a movie that demands to be seen on the biggest screen possible with the biggest sound system possible to make you feel like you're actually being immersed into these F1 races. The technology, the way they executed this was stunning. You legitimately feel like you are in the car with Brad Pitt or you are behind the wheel driving these cars. And that is something that is very special. That is not something that you get with every single film that you watch. You do not get the feeling of actually being transported into that world. Now, I know that that's what every movie tries to do. Not every movie can execute it, but this is a different sense of sensory, immersion. And I thought that they killed it. Just like a Top Gun, this is a marvel of cinematic filmmaking that I think anyone that watches it will instantly enjoy. I was on the edge of my seat. I was, I was biting my hoodie string. This elicited really awesome emotion, and that's because you truly felt like you were in the race with these characters. So, if you're going to go for one thing, go for that experience because, that's what this movie set out to do, was give you the experience of feeling like you were in an F1 car. And I think that they did as best as they could without actually physically putting you in an F1 car. I absolutely loved that about it. It's some of the best technical you're going to see all year. Will it win Oscars? Probably not. It might win some technicals. It might win sound. It might win cinematography. But other than that, it won't. But just go watch it for that alone. Don't worry about the story. Don't worry about the performances. Don't worry about this, that, the other thing. Just watch it for those sequences alone. In the biggest, loudest theater absolutely possible. Like I said, the race sequences are worth the price of admission. They really are. I do have issues though, and I actually have to shout out my new friend Sabrina, who is on a podcast called Two Guys, a Girl in F1. She is an F1 enthusiast and knows a lot about the world of F1, and so it just so happened we ended up sitting next to each other in the screening. And as soon as the movie ended, the first thing I asked her was accuracy. How accurate is this movie? And we talked for 15 to 20 minutes. She actually gave me some really good insight on the accuracies and inaccuracies of this film. So I actually respect that, and I appreciate her giving me the time to explain those inaccuracies to me. If you're a diehard F1 fan that knows every single solitary little thing about F1, you might not love this movie. I think you'll appreciate it. I think you'll appreciate that it exists and what it's doing for outreach for the sport. But when talking to Sabrina, there was a lot of things that kind of took her out of the movie in terms of pure accuracy. Now, at the end of the day, movies like this have to make some sacrifices for accuracy for the narrative part of the story. And so I can understand both sides of the coin. If you're a diehard F1 fan, you might see some blatant inaccuracies, and that will piss you off. But if you're a novice fan, you're not going to notice them. So I do kind of understand the balancing act there that this movie had to do. So there was some inaccuracies that maybe they could have tried to tie in a little better. But at the end of the day as well, it was a 2 hour and 35-minute movie, and so you can only keep so much. But I did appreciate talking to Sabrina about the inaccuracies and the accuracies of this movie. But at the end of the day, basically what she told me was, there were things I got frustrated with, but I appreciate that it exists, and I appreciate the outreach that it's going to do for the sport. So that is, I would say, a positive overall. But if you are an F1 fan, you might have some issues with it. In terms of story itself, it follows a lot of very basic sports underdog movie type tropes. It's highly predictable. It borrows from a bunch of classic sports movies. You can tell it's got inspiration all across the board. And that kind of soured it for me a little bit. It took away from some of the tension and some of the emotion. By the time you get to the end of the movie, you know exactly where it's going. I'm not going to get into spoilers, but you know exactly how this movie is going to end. You know exactly what, narrative beats are going to be hit, because they took a lot of inspiration from classic sports underdog stories. And so that did take a little bit of the emotion out of it for me. That did take me a little bit out of the movie as a whole. But like I mentioned earlier, this is an experience of a movie. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel in terms of narrative here. This is a movie that a lot of people are really going to love, because it is a movie that you can get behind. It is a classic underdog story. People love those types of stories, and you add that with the spectacle of the racing sequences. I think this is going to be a lot of people's absolute favorite movie of the year. But from a critical eye, there is a lot to criticize about the writing. I didn't even think all the performances that great. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't think Brad Pitt was that good. He seemed very one-dimensional, didn't really show a lot of emotion. He kind of was just there, delivering some lines. Like, Brad Pitt didn't do anything extraordinary here. Now, putting himself through the physical toll of driving the cars, yes, I'll give him that. But when you get into actually, like, the performances, no one really stood out. Kerry Condon, I thought, was really good. I thought she was probably one of the best parts of the movie. I really liked Javier Bardem as well. But when you're talking about Brad Pitt in general, he just didn't do it for me. I think Damson Idris as well was pretty good, but I didn't really think they had great chemistry, and that maybe that was part of it. Like, they didn't have great chemistry as, characters, but at the end of the day, the performances didn't wow me either. When it's all said and done, a lot of people are going to compare this to Top Gun Maverick. Rightly so. Same team, same type of technology, same type of, underdog type tropes and stuff. But, and I do think that that's going to do F1 a bit of a disadvantage, because Top Gun is just that good. It's good from a narrative perspective. It's good from a performance perspective. It hits the nostalgic feels with the Top Gun franchise. And then it was like the first movie of this, Joseph Kosinski universe of like putting you in the action. And so this movie is, F1's really good, but it's not Top Gun Maverick. And that's something that I think is going to have it at a little bit of a disadvantage. A lot of people are going to be comparing it to Top Gun Maverick, but, and this is how I'm going to close this, at the end of the day, You're going into this movie for the spectacle. And I think that most novice F1 fans that are movie-going audiences this summer are going to absolutely love this movie. It's simple enough, it's accessible enough, and it is easy enough to follow, while also giving a really awesome underdog story that people can latch onto. Does it copy a lot of basic character and narrative beats? Yes. Are the performances the best? No. But at the end of the day, it's the spectacle you're coming for, and they absolutely deliver. I did also want to add one more thing to the writing. There was some, various character plots that never really ended up going anywhere that I didn't like as well. It kind of went kind of all over the place at some points. But again, I don't want to critique the narrative too much. I am highly critical of this movie because I wanted it to be one of my favorites of the year. It's not. It is in my top 10, but I do think it will be pushed out eventually. But there's no denying, and I've said this 15 times now, and this is where I'm literally going to end the review. There's no denying that this is going to be one of the best spectacle movies of the year that people are going to absolutely love. Again, I gave it an 87 out of 100. I still really enjoyed it. I had a great time in the theater. See it on the biggest, loudest screen that you can. I would highly recommend it for, novice F1 fans and, diehard F1 fans too. Like I said, I had the conversation with Sabrina, and she said, there were things that made me frustrated, but I am glad it exists. And that is, at least a little bit of a vote of confidence from a diehard F1 fan. So we got both perspectives, and at the end of the day, it is the spectacle that you go for, and I absolutely loved that part of this movie. That's where I'm going to end it, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Go down below in the comments if you've already seen it. Let me know your thoughts. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let me know why. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Like I said, we're putting out movie reviews, pretty much every weekend when the new blockbusters come out. Got a few more coming for the rest of the summer, and then we're going to get right into Oscar season as well. That's pretty much it, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Go see F1 if you have not already, and until next time, we'll see you in the next video.